Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Wish you could slide into my mind and make me mine. Push play rewind. Let's whip outside, and so am I.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dylan B. Dickerson White, Mr. Trans USA 2022. I keep saying I'm going to find a shorter way to say that. But we're here to do our interview today with Mr. Trans Michigan 2023, Michael Christian. And obviously, a name you might be familiar with. He's been in the industry for about 20 years, but I'd like to have him jump in here, introduce himself a little bit, maybe tell us some things that we don't really know about him from, a bio that we've seen. And you'll have to excuse me, I'm not used to doing this on my phone, so I'm going to be plucking around here. But hi, Michael.
Hi.
So yeah, give us everybody a little bit more info about you that they may not have read when we posted the initial announcement.
I'm Michael Christian, and I'm Mr. Trans Michigan, like Dylan said. I was born and raised in Michigan. I did live in Chicago for about 3 years. I had a midlife crisis at about 30, peeled out, and then came back for family. There's not really much that the people don't know. I've been entertaining for 20 years. I've competed in a couple national pageants. This one, I did EOI 2 years ago to remember. I didn't win, but it was a long time ago. I was there.
No, that's kind of funny because I always wanted to do EOI too, and now that the rule changes and everything with the Mr. Division, it's kind of exciting.
It's really exciting, yeah.
So that's another thing. Obviously, you kind of touched on. So you had competed for Mr. Trans USA the year before I competed.
Yes,
I believe. Yeah. Or well, COVID. Whatever. I don't even know if time kind of matters anymore.
Still, I don't know what happens.
I feel like that's still the 3 years in there just didn't happen somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know you took some time off from that, and other than me kind of like harassing you, what was the thing that that made you want to come back this year?
Honestly, the thing that made me want to come back was I think this is the time when if you're able to be out and visible, you should be. The climate really inspired me to, get out there and use my platform such as it is and add to this platform just to, normalize the trans experience. And just especially now, even though you and I have talked about, I've gone back and forth now the last few months. It's just so important to stay in. And like I said, I've been doing this 20 years. So I think I have just a little bit behind me on the stage. I have a little bit behind me in life. I have life experiences that I can speak to and go out in public and say, hey, I'm just a normal dude. Like there's no reason that we shouldn't be in bathrooms, shouldn't be doing this. We should all just be so able to live. So I just decided this was the time to, for me, win or lose, just to get out there and lend my voice all over Michigan and then nationally, hopefully, at least be seen.
Right. And like you really hit on kind of an important point. And you're not the first person to kind of bring that to my
below me. He just got fixed and he hears your voice. So he's like,
oh, that's okay. You can totally, oh my God.
He just got fixed and he's so needy.
I mean,
so,
my
if I'm like shifty, it's not because he's down here.
No, we're gonna get to that in a minute. I mean, there's totally questions about animals. We know that already.
Yeah.
But you really hit on a good point with this, and it's something that I kind of had to deal with myself, even now with us seeing like, hey, some of the deadlines we have are missing because we're actually all dealing with like individual issues, or we have people in our over the country, or you have people in your state that we're talking to people really kind of being peer mentors in a lot of ways. We're really trying to do some of the behind the scenes work too. So with that and all of the stuff that's coming out, we see the heaviness that we're facing. And I mean, you can kind of speak on one of the events that wasn't really planned for me to go to, but what happened the day after your crowning in Michigan?
It was not planned at all, and I kind of felt a little bad. I was like, hey, we could just hang out and like swim in the pool at the hotel or whatever. But it ended up that we were having a drag queen story hour in our local area, and my niece in drag, Serenity, happened to be one of the readers, and it turns out that it got caught on the news, and there were just scary protests happening, and I was like, hey, sorry, she would like us to walk her into the building. So yeah, it turned out really well. Ours did, because where they put it was where two of our major prides are. So like these other people coming to protest us, it kind of didn't work because it, like you witnessed, they were just met with like hundreds of people in love compared to their 20 protesters in a van.
Yeah.
But walking in, it was really scary because we just came off the high of my crowning. We had a really great show, great time at Gigi's, and then we had to get up in the morning and go, and kind of like, she was super nervous. Like, she waited in the car for us to make sure we could walk with her. So,
and just, you know, that scary moment there, and like obviously, you know, like you said, it wasn't planned, but it was something that absolutely, yes, I'm gonna do with you guys and be there.
yeah.
But having that fear coming in, and just, I think that might have been one of those moments for you, like seeing like, okay, you being there and everyone else being there, the way it turned out at the end, I don't know if anyone would have seen that video. They were walking through the streets of a crowd of supporters, not protesters, and people were like tipping them, just walking through the crowd and cheering for them. And
Yeah.
you know, I just think that feeling of, we kind of won that little battle that day.
Yeah, we won that one.
Yeah. So
And that was nice because I definitely, you know, number one, I'm nervous in crowds. So I got a little overwhelmed and claustrophobic, and I went downstairs and you stayed upstairs. And then we came up and she was like, walk with us. And I was like, are we sure we're doing this? And then luckily the girls were tipped and people were like talking and shaking up both of our hands. So it did up really nice in a win, but I know not everywhere's turning out that way. So I'm very blessed to be in Michigan. But like I said, it ties back to, this is where we have to use our visibility and, you know, confront our own fears and do what we can.
And like, even, you know, the whole, like, you ended up doing that yourself, like, you know, you're not like a big crowds person, and I'm not really either, you know, when I was super close in like that, but it was just feeling safe enough to do that when you're surrounded by everybody else who is kind of the big thing there. On that, I know that we're kind of like getting into some heavier things, but we'll keep it a little bit lighter for a second. Is your puppy still with you?
Well, I got the other one. This one's Oscar.
Oh,
He's a Chihuahua. He's like 15. And then, yeah, Oliver's still at my feet.
Oh, Oliver and Oscar.
He just got fixed last Wednesday, so he's like still super cute and needy.
It's like, I am
groomed, but that's because he couldn't for surgery. But
right. Oh my goodness. Like, also, your Chihuahua looks just like mine. I know we've talked about that. And he's about 13, so they probably do. I wonder if they'll do the Chihuahua thing though, where they'll like go back and forth at each other because, you know, Chihuahuas.
Yeah, maybe.
But my question though, I'm sure you might have been thinking about this. So if you could have like an exotic pet, not a cat, dog, bunny, anything like that, something really out there, and, you know, no space limitations, what would it be?
So I've actually always wanted a polar bear. They are just so cute and cuddly. I'm very aware that if you get too close, it would kill me. But they're so cute and cuddly. I've always wanted a polar bear.
That would be I mean, I would never be cold if they didn't, you know, eat you or something. I don't know.
Right.
I want to get all of the animals everybody's kind of suggested, like, on a thing. But, you know, that would also probably end up with either the polar bears or tigers eating everything. So
yeah, probably.
But no, I'd be like, thank you for taking a moment, at least, you know, to be lighter with it, because I think that's something that people, like you talked about, we're real people. We have pets, we have jobs, we have like things that we do to just kind of wind down from that. And that might be another question that I'm kind of lead into. What do you do to relax outside of like working on shows or just being an activist like you have been?
In the winter, I don't really have anything. I like to spend as much time as I can with my nephew. Just the way I grew up, I was really close to my aunt, and I always remember that. So like ever since he was born, I just wanted to be for sure that presence with him. And then in the summer, I actually have a pool, and I come home from work and I grill and I get in the pool every day. And then like all my friends, our house, the Sapphire and everybody, they live like 2 blocks away, and they're just sometimes just show up. They can all like get into my house because we're close friends and family. And like I've woken up and they've just been in the pool, and I'm like, okay.
That sounds exactly like what would happen with my like drag kids if I had a pool, because
Yeah.
I've had one of them just show up about I'm like working at home and okay, it's 2 o'clock on a Thursday.
Yeah, what are we doing? Yeah, that's my whole summer. I just like to grill and just be in the backyard and outside as much as possible. And then obviously my nephew comes over and he thinks it's Uncle Mike camp, and we do a lot of fun stuff.
That is amazing. So does he help you grill?
He hasn't yet. He's turning 6 this week, so I'm sure he will. He has a lot of opinions on what I shouldn't.
Is that supervising?
Yeah, he supervises a lot.
Actually, I need to come out. I haven't been in a pool probably in since some other competition, like that competition probably.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's a weird like thing. I love swimming. I love water, but at this time it's like, I live in an apartment. So that's like one of my dreams is to have a pool. So I'm going to shift a question a little bit. What do you like dream vacation? How about that? Since you already have a pool, and you don't need that anywhere. So where would you want to go?
I have always wanted to go to Australia. Always. I've been to like London and Scotland. My family's from there, so I've been over to Europe a couple times when I was younger, but I've always wanted to go to Australia.
You're not afraid of the giant spiders or anything, or like?
I mean, I want to go by myself. I look it up a lot and do all the health things. I don't like bugs and things, but I don't want to be like camping in the wilderness.
I got you.
Go to the major cities and maybe drive through and see the pretty land.
You're like, and then stay away from that section over there with the spiders the size of your head or something. Like,
yeah, I'm not going camping in the deserts of Australia. That's not for me. But I would go to the major cities and like drive through, because they have really cool animals too, koalas and kangaroos and all that. I've always just wanted to go there.
Yeah, that would be my like. I'm with you on that. That was one of like my main places I wanted to go until I learned about all the things that are terrifying.
Stay out of the desert. Like I don't go to the middle of Arizona's desert either.
True. This is kind of a related question jump that allows us to jump back into that. You've been to a lot of these other places now. Have you been to them, any of the other like internationally since you've transitioned actually?
I haven't. No, not. I mean, just Canada, but that's really just across the border.
I think that, yeah,
really just there's like a bridge that you could accidentally go on from my house and you're in Canada. So that's about it. I haven't. No.
That must be really interesting though. I mean, with Canada, because I feel like I should have been better at knowing that there was that, because I literally see it on the map. So do you have contact with anybody in Canada? Have you talked or had seen anything about how they're responding to what's going on with trans people in the US?
They're actually very supportive / upset with how we're treating people. Because they have universal health care and they just have different laws, and they just seem to be more ahead. Like they had gay marriage before us. They're just always a little bit step ahead. And, I've done a couple of their pride shows with my friends and stuff, and we've never had any problems crossing the border. We've never had any problems and, doing anything. I've crossed the border fully painted with a drag queen that's bald, but fully painted, and we don't have problems. So
yeah.
They're just kind, and they have reached out. We can't just pick up and move, but people that we are in contact with that are friends wish we could. I sometimes think about it, wish we could.
Yeah.
But the entire trans population of the US, I don't think could just go fill Canada.
Right.
That would be fun, right?
Right. But then that you realize there's always going to be more.
Yeah.
I think that it might be. This is a question I've asked to. Oh, puppy again.
He's real polite.
Oh no, mine does the same thing. Lost my train of thought a little bit too. Because dogs. you know,
Right.
this is what happens to me. But I think that, you know, moving from that, we see that it's really different, you know, from the Canada and the US, but just Michigan, but even state to state, we see things are so different. I believe when I was out, you told me Michigan, correct me if I'm wrong, has protections at this
So
point.
our governor just signed the protections for all of our jobs and housing and all of that for the whole LGBTQ situation. I know that Minnesota, their governor declared a safe space for trans people. So if you need to go get health care and your state doesn't allow it, and I do know that it's going to come up in front of our governor shortly. So I can't see why she wouldn't sign it. She's been wonderful this whole time.
That's
So hopefully we'll be the second state that's a full trans protection state. But
that's
Minnesota was first, and yeah, it's coming up. But she just signed the what was it? The Defense of Marriage here. So no matter what happens anywhere, gay marriages are legal, and then the protection rights for housing and jobs and healthcare and all that. So just shy of being that full safe space for the whole country to come to.
that's yeah, because I know we had talked about it, like was an idea, like, and that's gonna
Mhm.
happen just last month, and so it's nice to like see that things going through, and you know the legal things go so slowly, like that it's
So slowly, yeah.
and it's one of those things I kind of want to ask, like, so we know that also in Missouri things are happening with that, and I think, you know, maybe I'll just kind of like briefly mention that Missouri's Surgeon General basically put out an emergency order that even adults cannot access, you know, gender affirming care without these very strict guidelines that pretty much very few people actually end up meeting who would like to begin transitioning. So
Right.
that's kind of my summary of that. But what kind of message would you want to send to people who may have to stick it out to play that waiting game?
I would just say to keep your head up and stay strong. Just because someone doesn't believe in who you are doesn't mean you're not who you are. And if just stay as strong as possible, if making a move to a safer state, to a blue state that's just historically blue for a long time is an option for you, cool. If not, just do your very best to get one of the safer states that grants the protection, like Minnesota, and hopefully Michigan will be coming up. I mean, everything's so hard. We're just, as they make these decisions, right? So they make them and they sign them into bills and they're 2 years into term, and then they have another election. They might have another term. We don't know who's going to win and how long it's going to take to repeal whatever nonsense gets put in during their term. So it's really just keep your head up. And honestly, if you shouldn't have to don't let anyone devalue who you are. And honestly, I would just say try and change states. I think changing states is good for you. Like I said at the beginning,
Yes.
I had my midlife crisis. Just go do something else anyway. But if you can just make it to 16, 18, however old, get your parents on board and just get where it's safe.
And you know, it's one of those things that I know, like you said, that there are, you know, that might be the only option for some people, and there are organizations and groups out there that are kind of like mobilizing to get people to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just, and I know that since, you know, Minnesota and Michigan, they're coming up, that there's going to be stuff in place to be able to do that, to get people to even access care. And, you know, something's very interesting. I know there's those online gender
I was
affirming care.
just thinking that because they package it discreetly. So I think you could still get it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's insurance like things that have to be dealt with, but I think that, you know, these organizations are probably going to be putting that kind of stuff out there. So I think there are those options for people. And, you know, I think this might be a good way to talk about something a little bit more positive, you know, because this is some really heavy stuff, and we're not going to lie and cover anything, you know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, rose-colored glasses, the world, and whatnot. But there are some things that are really kind of amazing about the trans community, despite all of this. And so when we do talk about all these things are going wrong, we often forget about all the things that are going right for us and within our communities. So can you maybe give me one or two examples of what you think is going right for the trans community, or within us even?
Yeah, I think what is going right is, first and foremost, a lot of us are living to be my age. Like growing up and thinking about it, you didn't know what a trans adult looked like. Like, I'm 43, so we were searching grainy YouTube, and people were all like a year older than me, like seeing, but you didn't see. And now children have role models, and they're able to see us being adults and being thriving and making it like past our 20s. I know that, you know, there's still some really hard rates for suicide and, you know, other things, but on the flip, there's this pageant, there's other people that are willing to take a stand, there's people in, you know, the Senate, there's governors that are trans identified, there's all kinds of people, there's all kinds of that have become well educated in these spaces, and it's giving a good role model for kids. And now kids, they have the language, and I think that's amazing, because I didn't have the language until I was in my 20s.
Yeah.
So they have the language to say who they are, and they're saying it, and there's parents that can see other adults thriving and say, okay, all right, we're going to do this, I believe you. And I think that that's great. Despite everything that's happening, there's kids still coming out and able to live who they are.
Yeah, you know, you're 100% right on. And there's families that are willing to, like, trusting their kids, and it's because they see the role models that they're out there, that because there's the information and language out there, that it's not just something that's scary and they have no idea what to do, so they shove it under the rug. You know, it's
right.
It's kind of incredible. And you hit the word like thriving there, and it kind of ties into a question, and that sort of phrase that we've been throwing around like all year, you know, trans excellence, and that means a lot of things for a lot of people, different for every person. And for me, that has a lot to do with thriving in spite of things. And I was wondering, for you personally, what does that mean?
I think it just means being able to be comfortable in your skin, and yes, thriving however you want to thrive. Some people want to be governors, some people want to be senators, some people, I'm a bartender, I do drag. That's what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
we're all doing what we want, but we're so happy, and we're building families, whether there are, you know, natural born family or a drag family or just the communities as we grow up and went to college and whatnot, and just thriving and kind of owning who you are and owning your space in the world. It doesn't have to be like, I don't walk around with my sash every day. I don't say it to the whole world, but I'm still excellent, and I'm still living in my trans excellence truth just by showing up for dinner for my friend's birthday. Like, I still showed up, and I'm out here, and I'm not afraid to be who I am in public, right? So
Yeah.
that's what I just think it is. And that, like you said, it could mean something different for everybody. You could be whatever you want to be.
Yeah, and I get you. Like, you don't have to be, you know, doing something totally trans related to be, you know, an example of trans excellence. You know, you can just be living your life is just how one way of doing that. And I think that getting to that point as a, you know, when we can finally say, yeah, there's different ways for people to thrive in life, and we can do that too, is kind of a huge deal for the community.
It
So,
is.
yeah, even despite of all of this. So let me think. So yeah, you kind of hit on a couple of these, and obviously, you know, you've been performing. We've both been performing for a long time. We're just kind of, yeah. And so for me personally, I know that drag was kind of my gateway to realizing that this was not pretend.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wondered, how did that tie into it for you, or did you kind of start after? Like, how did your transition, like your journey into transition, relate to your performance career, if at all?
It was same. It was how I realized, like, oh, this makes sense. Like, I had gotten drag for the first and second time, and like, it wasn't when drag was all fancy. It was very thrift shop. This is probably what I wore, you know, like really thrift shop. You better put a men's shirt on and you were doing it.
Right.
It was very like, oh, this is how you're supposed to look. This is, you know. And then I was in one bar, which was predominantly lesbian. There was no language for it. So I didn't know. They were like, oh, you're just going to be butch or whatever. And I was like, maybe not. And then I actually had went to Gigi's, and I met, you know, the queens, and they were already in there a little bit in their HRT situation. And I was like, I think I'm you, but opposite. So does that make sense? And they were like, it does. Yeah. But yeah, that was just like definitely when I looked in the mirror in drag, I was like, okay, this is what it's supposed to be. And then I found my people, and they were like, this is what we do. Yep, it makes sense.
And I don't know if this was the same for you, because it's really interesting to hear people say the same things that I was thinking, because it didn't feel like I was putting drag on the first time so much as taking it off.
It did, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was like, are you sure I have to take this off and go back to whatever you people want me to wear?
right, like because I felt like
Sure.
like a wall had been brought down.
Yeah.
And I think that that kind of also connects us to like one of the reasons why drag is such an important art form for our community, because it allows people to have those questions. It allows people to really explore different things. And I think that we know the answer to this, obviously, but maybe you can talk a little bit more about how these anti-drag bills and the anti-trans bills are really connected throughout the country. Like, how do you see them on a deeper level being connected?
Well, on a deeper level, I really think they are an attack on the trans community because they're so vague. Like, it's not just saying you can't have brunch. It's saying anywhere in public in front of children, you can't be in the opposite gender's clothes. So I have friends that are like boy drag queens, so they're not going to walk down the road. But when I leave the building after brunch, in all technicalities, I'm leaving the building in the opposite gender of where I was born's clothes. So my friend's not going to get in trouble, but I might get arrested if someone was like, I know this Michael Christian, blah, blah, blah. So it's really just a direct attack on that. And I think so many people are missing the point when it's all become don't ban drag queens. We're not really fighting for the trans community. And I think those are the voices we need to be amplifying a little bit more, instead of just like the boy queens and the big drag names and because yes, I agree. And it is an art. It's an art for everybody. My friends and all the people around the country, they're so talented people. I love to watch. I love to get in the dressing room and be like, how are you going to do that? So it's like a true art. And I understand that, but we're missing it's going to go deeper, because if they go through, we're not just banning like the big shows. We're literally making it illegal for people like us to walk down the street, to leave our houses if anybody knows our story. Yeah. And that's not fair, because not everybody started HRT. Not everybody wants to. Not everybody wants to have surgeries. Maybe you just want to dress this way. And now you're like the biggest target. Yeah. And I think that's the point that we're missing. And I support all the protests. I'll go to all of them. I agree, but I think we have to start having that deeper conversation.
Yeah. The conversation about where, this is not just the art form that's under attack. It's the very idea that you are crossing a line, a boundary that, mostly right. Based on these gender stereotypes, mostly based on religious expectations, honestly. And it's one of those things that even if the shows go away, the attacks aren't going to stop. That's the first step.
Right. It's basically just existing in the world. Like I said, if the shows stop and Pride gets canceled and brunch gets canceled, that's fine. But what happens when you saw Michael Christian at the brunch 6 months ago and his story? Now he could be under attack just because you didn't feel him last week. Right. So like that's where it'll be sad to lose brunches and prides and all those things, but it's gonna affect so much more. Just people's daily lives and ability to live as who they are.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that's one of the things I'm sure we can all like get together to and have that conversation. Some of us who have been on both sides of it, performing, and because I think we talked about all of us doing different kinds of panels throughout the next 6 months. And maybe this is a time for us to really kind of hit on that topic a little bit heavier, because I've too been kind of a little frustrated, with not seeing as much support as I would have liked from some people.
Yeah.
But I think that's another really, really important thing to talk about. Like, we are working, all of us, so hard. And I mean, not just me, like all the contestants, all the staff, all the trans people in my life I know, it's just like a constant fight, and so I really wanted to ask if we're tired, so we need our allies in this point.
Yeah.
How would you deliver like a little message to the allies right now saying about how important this is?
Um,
And honestly, it doesn't have to be super profound
uh,
because I'm putting you on the spot. This was not one of those questions on the list. I know.
I would honestly just say we need your help, please. Please, we need you to dig down and see the bigger picture. And if you've come to a brunch and you've come to a bachelorette party and you've come to this and you've booked us in a show and you're my drag queen friend, if I've come and supported you and I've dressed you in a pageant and rhinestoned your gown and done all this, can you please take a moment and think a little bit deeper beyond the fact that you might lose your pride show, and think about the fact that you have brothers and sisters that might lose their humanity. They might not be able to go to the restroom. They might not be able to leave their house comfortably. It's going to change the suicide rates and the murder rates. They're going to go up. And I just, please take a moment after your protest and think about the next step after the consequence that's going to impact you. Think about the next level, please.
I'm actually really glad you were able to speak from the heart there, because I think that's like, yeah, I don't need to follow up on that. That's actually pretty perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah, you kind of got me a little bit. I don't cry a lot, but I'm starting to.
Me neither. The testosterone stops it, but sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes they'll cry at like random, like I'll watch like a commercial with an animal in it or something, and then I'll cry at that. But then something really, really heavy happens, and then nothing.
Yeah, me too.
No idea.
Like everybody's crying around me. I'm like,
like I'm gonna pretend to look like I'm gonna cry. Yeah. But it's weird testosterone side effects, like the voice cracking still like 13 years after the fact.
Yeah.
Sometimes. But on that serious note, like I think that's a really important message for allies and everybody. And we've talked about messages for the community and everything. And I have like basically just two more kinds of questions.
Sure.
And one's, a pretty big but obvious question I was going to ask probably. So why is Trans USA important right now? Your dogs had an answer.
I'm stuck under the couch that I'm sitting on.
They had an answer.
Excuse me. It's important because of the visibility, and it's important to give us and whoever is able to be visible the platform to say what needs to be said, because there's so many overpowering voices and platforms that RuPaul's given, Drag Race is given, and all the things that have come into our world. And I think that Trans USA is important because now it's our time to speak up on that second step of the bill, and everybody that can be visible. And like I said earlier, to show the kids that you can be excellent and you can live and you can thrive, and like, just try to hold on. I know it's hard, but I've been through my own stuff, but I think that's why it's important. It's just going to give us a platform that I think, honestly, not to blow smoke at you, but like, you've done such a great job, and we're not on TV or anything, but we're definitely leveling up and the visibility of national pageants. And like you've done walks already, and I see you invited to AAG and all these things. They're recognizing where might not have been recognized before. And I think that's fantastic. And it's really important that we just keep building on that momentum. And every contestant, there's only going to be one winner, but we can all go back to our states and we're all going to talk to each other and we can all help each other. So like, honestly, signing up, we're all winners. I know that sounds cheesy, but I've said win or lose. At least I'm using my platform where it needs to be in 2023. In this moment, I'm meeting my moment.
You like, first of all, thank you. I mean, I'm trying not to like it's weird because I'm just doing what I feel like, this is the job. This is what I've got to do.
But it hasn't been done before. And it hasn't been allowed to be done before. So you're doing great. You're kicking down doors.
I mean, I'm small, but I got big legs, so I can kick it, right? But thank you. But you also, you had the same idea that like I ended up having when I got in there, because like we've both done pageants before. I think we both have that like really competitive streak, you know, in us,
Yeah.
generally. But I say this every time. It's once I got there and like this experience last year, especially, just I didn't really feel that. I didn't feel like I had to be better than anyone else or prove anything. I was there to just tell my story. And I think that you're right. This year, each story and in each person in each state is super important to have there.
Mhm.
And like, it's overall everybody doing the work, all 40 some or 50, however many it's going to be, of you guys doing all of that together and making like literally breaking barriers. Like this is the biggest trans competition in the world right now, basically.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of
Fun.
crazy.
Crazy, but fun.
It's crazy. So that's like my last sort of question, one of the more fun ones. And you kind of touched on it probably in the answer you just gave me, but like we talk about all this shit we want to do, projects, big things. What do you want to take away from the experience this time around?
I want to know that I came out of my shell and I did my best, and that I met my moment for who I am and my platform. And then I'm really looking forward to like the host hotel and all the brothers and sisters and all the people, because we have 3 days to hang out. And I know that everybody's going to be like, oh, I'm busy for interview this day and this day, but you know, we'll be in groups and we have 3 days to just hang out, and you get to see people that are like you, because we'll go to Pride. There'll be 42 drag queens and me.
Yep.
And yes, 3 of them might be trans women, but that's like 4 people out of 43. So this is like a place where we're just all going to be. And that's so rare. And I'm just hoping to like be so prepared that I don't have to overthink. I'm just going to go have fun and meet everybody and come out with like a true family that we keep in touch with.
Yeah. And I think that last part, you know, you already got it. These people like, and I know a lot of the people are already look up to you, like competing and not competing, and want to do this in Michigan now, next time, because I've heard some things. But no, it's getting together. You're right. Like this is, and maybe I'll share that with you. Like that's what I want to get out of it too. Just the step down stuff, that's great and everything, but it's the stuff that goes on at the host hotel, the fun, the conversations you have. The really like family reunion, like retreat style thing that everybody remembers.
Yeah.
So I think I'm excited for that as well. And just I noticed we've gone a little over, and it happens sometimes just when we get talking. But you know, before I kind of let you go, is there any like last little word you want to say, or would you rather just play your statement that we're gonna throw on here?
Yeah, that'll be fine. No, I just hope that anyone that can come to Wisconsin will come and experience and hang out with us and have a good time. And if you're thinking about entering and you're unsure, I know you can reach out to Dylan, but you can definitely hit me up if you're scared in your state or whatnot. You know, I'm willing to talk to anybody. So, yeah.
Yeah, you wanna put that dish in your mouth.
Hey everybody, Michael Christian here, Mr. Trans Michigan. Just want to take the opportunity to thank you for watching my interview. Thank you for watching everybody's interview and getting to know a little bit more about the contestants and the pageant. And then just take a little bit of opportunity to let you know about my partnership with the Ferndale Community Foundation. So I chose this charity because not only do they raise money to produce our own Pride, to make it free and accessible to everybody all the time, one of the great prides here in Michigan, but also all the extra money that we raise all year long is donated to all the arts and the mental health resources and any other LGBT things and beyond. So we pay for our Pride, and then we donate to everything that the community thinks is really important and needs. And I just really appreciate making sure that we give back to like a vast amount of things, and then there's no just one pointed charity that we're working with. So anything that is important to anyone, we donate to, and we help out all kinds of other nonprofits. Anyway, thank you so much. We'll hope to see you in November, and if not, keep watching for everybody else's videos and get to know all the contestants, and make sure that we stay visible for you, you stay visible for us, and we're gonna make a great difference in the country. Thanks so much.
You wanna put that dish in your mouth.